Dear Lord, I ask that you please look out for the families and friends of those who were involved in the different accidents over the past week, especially for those that lost their loved ones. Really just keep an eye on those people and help them through this hard time. I can't imagine. And then I also ask if you would just help to guide us to hopefully find the right answers and to help us in our journeys each and every day. And may we have a productive next week and a productive podcast today, please. And in your Son, Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Skeptics Podcast, episode 24. Starting every podcast off, John Boy, how you doing?
Doing pretty good. Exciting things happening. So, life's good, doing good.
Right on. So, kind of touched it on a little bit in the prayers. Like we said, we really pray for the ones that has lost a loved one and has been affected by the most recent plane crash shiz.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that with an S on the end of it. Like,
Multiples.
been wild things going on. We're going to kind of get into it here a little bit. I'm no means a plane or helicopter expert.
No, me neither.
Whatsoever. So the whole thing's wild. I mean, especially watching from just your TV.
Oh, yeah.
That there's been two recent plane crashes lately. There has been one that was in Washington, and there has been one that's been in Pennsylvania. The Pennsylvania one literally happened like 2 nights ago.
Yeah, it's wild.
So I pulled it out on John during lunchtime, and he was like,
yeah, I hadn't even heard about that one yet.
so both of them's a little bit different, but we'll go into the Black Hawk airplane one because John Boy's got some special information on this. So, for anybody that doesn't know, a Black Hawk helicopter with 3 people in it ran into or was run into by a jet.
A passenger
airplane.
Yeah.
Had like 60 people on it or so. Is that right?
Yeah, because the total is 63.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they somehow managed to hit each other in midair.
Yeah.
So it starts bringing up a lot of questions very quickly.
Yeah.
And we're probably going to try to dive through a lot of them now. Like I said, we're by no means experts.
No.
We're just telling you what it seems like from our side and watching all this kind of stuff go down. Plus, we do know some people from the military. And I just thought, I wonder what Sam's thoughts are on this.
On this one, oof, I don't know.
Because we haven't really had a chance to talk to him about it. Sam's a friend of ours that we work with. He's an interesting fellow.
Very analytical cat.
Yeah, very analytical.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he's probably got some interesting thoughts on it. But let me repeat this again. This is a Black Hawk that ran into a passenger jet midair, dark time. Pretty crazy. John, what do you think about it so far?
Man, what do I think? My initial reaction was it was an accident. And that's really still how I feel about it as of right now. You know, there's been a lot of plane crashes in the past, I'd say just a few years. Let's say 5 years, past 5 years, that have had some suspect causation because, this one doctor or this one politician or whatever. There's somebody of a high-level individual who's on there. I did hear that there was some Olympians. I don't remember. They were like ice skaters or gymnasts,
yeah,
something like that. Yeah. Very, very terrible nonetheless, but those aren't the same kind of like political figures that normally would be targeted from what I hear for people who are trying to build out conspiracy theories around this stuff that would get you thinking. And so I've not heard anything like that currently. So currently it just looks like and appears as an accident. There's some kind of mistake on what I would think would be the helicopter's part.
So I'm on the same boat as you are so far because a lot of one of the things that we said at the start of this podcast was, what's the chances something like that happens?
Right.
But let's flip the quarter real quick.
Mm-hmm.
How easy do you think it could be to make that happen?
Easy? I think I think it wouldn't be that hard.
Really?
Yeah, because everything, there's all these rules set out by the FFA, or the FFA, goodness.
Farmers of America?
Yeah, the FAA. And so with all these guidelines, and like all you'd have to do is do some research on how an airport operates, I feel like, and then be in that area and just know altitude and stuff like that, as well as there's so much public information on flights these days, flight trackers and stuff. You can get so much information pretty easily.
But you think it'd be physically just easy enough to fly the helicopter into a moving plane?
Oh, yeah. I think it's timing. If you know where they're going to be and when they're going to be there, which we do, you could do it.
Right.
Plane's supposed to be here, supposed to be landing at 7:50. All that information's open source.
Hopefully line it up perfect.
Yeah.
Because if nobody's seen the video on it, I encourage everybody to go pull up the video. One day it would probably be cool if we had a TV or something so we could actually show stuff. But this helicopter from the video was flying towards the area of this plane, which you could see because it was a big light. Mm-hmm. And for a long time, when I mean a long time, I don't mean like 20 minutes, but I mean like in the video, it's cruising. It's a 10-second, 15-second long video of this plane. And I don't mean the short version. I don't mean the one where it just shows it there and it hits it. Find the one to where it's essentially takes off and it's like cruising. Now, there's this plane coming from a long ways away, which it just still looks like a light. It ends up hitting it. So you would think with that much time that you would be able to at least see something to where you're like, oh, let's not hit that thing. Because we were trying to talk it out. Like, what's more plausible? Is the airplane going to see the helicopter first and be able to do something about it? Not really. Airplanes can, once you're moving, cooking forward, you're going forward. You could do left, right, up, down, but I don't know how fast you could do that.
Up and down, a lot faster than left and right.
Right.
Yeah.
Then you got a helicopter which can stay in the same place, go left, go right, go up, go down, go forward, and essentially can probably go backwards.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't want to put the blame on the helicopter, but if anybody's doing anything about it, it will be the helicopter. Like the helicopter is going to be the one that invades or goes down or goes up or whatever.
Yeah.
So we were trying to understand what is the likeliness, if that's a word, of the plane hitting the helicopter, or did the helicopter hit the plane? And I think we kind of came up with the most plausible one, if we're talking about the helicopter being the one that does the evasive maneuver to get out of the situation, would be the airplane technically hitting the helicopter.
Yeah.
Because I would think if I was flying straight, or if I'm driving a car, and I see a car, I have time to do something.
Right.
Whatever. And obviously these vehicles are going way faster than just a 55-mile-per-hour car.
Right.
But it's a lot different if you just get clocked from the side because you're most likely paying attention this way.
Right.
And it happens all the time. And in cars, you have a 360 view.
Right.
So we're talking about an airplane. The only thing that we don't have with cars is you can't go up and down. You just got to go left and right. So we would think if it was a mistake, and they didn't see the airplane, it would have to be that the airplane hit the helicopter from the side so they couldn't see it, which is still crazy because you have to get there to some point.
Yeah.
So, but we did figure this out as well. So I ended up actually saving this. So let me see if I can get a date here. So this was yesterday. Washington, it is being reported that the staffing was not normal in the Air Traffic Control Center tower at Reagan National Airport during the time of the deadly plane crash on Wednesday night. In a recent report by the FAA obtained by the Associated Press, one air traffic controller was working two positions at the time of the crash. The position, or in quotations, the position configuration was not normal for the time of day and volume of traffic, the report says. So that kind of raises a couple questions.
Yeah.
we're seeing now that Trump's kind of coming in and he's shutting down the whole kind of DEI system. I remember we talked about this a little bit over lunch. Matt Walsh, if none of y'all know who he is a guy that is employed by the Daily Wire, and he kind of did a real deep dive on the amount of close encounters we've had from planes hitting each other and planes getting in wrecks, whether on the airport or in the sky. And his thought behind it was most of these DEI things, I mean, heck, we even see it with the military to now a little bit, is they lower the standards so more people could get in.
Mm-hmm.
And you were talking about it a little bit. It seems like there's a lot more people nowadays that want to do that kind of stuff. Like you hear about it a lot more.
Yeah, I feel like I've heard about a lot more people. Now, these are definitely not DEI type of individuals that I know or have met. Most of them are your standard average 20 to 30-year-old white male who are interested in becoming pilots.
So if we were in what, and then so we ask ourselves this:
yeah,
if you're working, say you're working back when you were working at customer service,
mm-hmm.
okay, and you weren't there.
Mm-hmm.
So say you went to the bathroom or something. What would normally happen if somebody called and your phone rang?
One of the other teammates would pick it up.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's say that this essentially happened,
mm-hmm.
and now you got a guy that's been working kind of two different things.
Yeah.
At what point do you think is it like normal to ask for help? So like say you were in the bathroom for 2 hours. So it's like, when do you bring another guy in? And we're talking about a job that essentially has a lot of lives attached to it.
Yeah.
So what's your thoughts on that whole statement?
Man, that seems crazy. Just for the sheer fact that I know from like watching this movie with, I think it's John Candy. I think that's how you say it. Either way, he's an air traffic controller, and they force him to take some time off. And he ends up taking his family to the beach. Super good movie. I can't remember what it's called, but nonetheless, I remember watching that, and like he wigs out because there was a fly that ended up being on the monitor covering up one of the dots that was supposed to represent the airplane. And he was like, I can't see you on the map. And there was a fly on the screen. And so his boss was like, dude, you need to take some time off, because that is a super stressful job. Being in charge of making sure that all these people's lives on each one of these airplanes is going to land and take off without hitting each other. Like, I think it is already a very difficult thing to do, because let's say you got like 20 planes in the air and they're all like, hey, need to land. And you got 10 guys who are like, hey, we need to take off. And now you're trying to orchestrate all of that and make sure everybody's at safe altitudes, distances from each other, that their paths that they're on, whether they're circling or they're like, well, here, we're going to go here and come back. Make sure none of those people are on the same trajectory. So to not have adequate staffing, I think is crazy. For a guy to be like, you know what? Yeah, I'll take 2 positions in a job that's already really stressful and
right.
like super involved. I think that's wild.
So like, I wonder, let's put you an example of like, say the pilot.
Mm-hmm.
If you couldn't get a co-pilot, do you think they would fly that plane? Like a passenger plane? You could not get a co-pilot that day. That's actually a good question. If anybody knows,
yeah, I'm not sure.
Like, let us know, because if you're bringing somebody that is not also qualified to fly, essentially,
right?
Say you just bring the what's the guys that check you?
TSA.
TSA. Say you're like, bring that TSA guy. I'm not going to crash or sleep or anything like that, and then you end up having a heart attack or something. He's flying your plane.
Yeah.
So it's like, and in the same instance, if that was to happen, the pilot would be essentially probably taking 2 jobs, even though it's a co. But I'm sure it's very, very important still to the pilot.
Yeah, I would think so, because to your point, what if you have a heart attack or something? Like, it doesn't have to be like the plane's catching on fire. It can be as simple as the other person becomes incapacitated.
Right.
Yeah.
And if that happened, this is where I talked about it last time. I get fired up about it. The year of accountability.
Mm-hmm.
Let's know. I want to know now. What is it? FAA? Is that what it's called? From the FAA, if that was the case, why was that the case? And then give it to the public on how we're going to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
Because then now nobody has to ask questions anymore. It's like,
Right.
hey, we made a mistake. Everybody makes mistakes. This one just happened to be pretty fatal for a lot of people. Let's figure out a way to fix this thing.
Yeah.
Because this was also another time that it seems like communication was not on par with probably what it should be.
Mm-mm.
Like, we did get to hear a little bit of the radio tower going back to the helicopter, I think it was.
Yeah.
Or I don't even know if they did anything to the plane. But it seemed like it was kind of subpar.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
well, that goes back to what we just talked about, though. Imagine you're understaffed.
right.
Imagine your normal staffing, let's say, is 10 people, and you've got 5. And one guy's like, hey, I got to run to the bathroom real quick. And so
Yeah.
now you're down to 4 guys.
Yeah.
Oh, man, it would be a lot to deal with.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And so
my thing that I've wondered so much recently is, if anybody knows me, and this guy already knows where I'm probably going with this, is the one thing I'm obsessed about is the Malaysia plane thing. And we're still down. Nobody knows where this plane is.
Right.
Nobody knows where the black box is.
Right.
And the communication was lacking to some degree. Now,
Yeah.
did somebody tamper with it, or was it just lacking? We'll probably never know that answer. You'll probably never know that answer to any of the stuff that happens, because going into the other plane crash we just had.
Yeah.
So another plane crash happened. I believe it was Friday night,
Mm-hmm.
and it was in Pennsylvania, and it was a medical plane with 6 people in it. Dived bomb into the ground at like 1,100 feet per second.
Yeah.
So essentially breaking the sound barrier. And if you saw the video on that, it's absolutely horrifying. I mean, the thing looks like a missile going off.
Yeah.
Heck, we saw a video today. The dude got out of a car that was on fire, and he was running around on fire. So kind of breaking this one down a little bit more.
Yeah.
Much smaller plane.
Yep.
Had 6 people on it, not 60 people on it. Hit a downtown area that was a couple hundred feet from a mall. You could also tell because there was a Dunkin' Donuts nearby and all this other stuff. Everybody in the plane was deceased. One person on the ground, I think is what it says, was confirmed dead. I'm pretty sure that's probably the guy that was probably on fire, got out in his car. And last I heard, 19 was injured to this one. So this is another weird kind of plane crash. And it's crazy that it happened back to back. And the like, which one's weirder? We have a military helicopter fly into a passenger jet, or now we have a medical jet that dives bombs into a city. Like fast, like not trying. It doesn't look like
That's the one I think that I'm more interested in, to like what happened, because like I said with the other one, for now it just seems like an accident. Something definitely went wrong, whatever it might have been, but it seemed like there was an error somewhere. I don't know if it was with their instruments or if it's a human error, whatever it was. And I think that one's easier to be kind of spoken for. Whereas this other one, like, it literally doesn't make sense to me. Because the plane, you said it was in the air for like 50 seconds?
50 seconds. And going back, it lost communication
Yeah.
again. And it's like, how are we in this day and age that we can have thousands of airplanes flying around?
Yeah.
But the one time we need to make communication with this, we can't. Or maybe it was shut off. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know. I wish we were to get a little bit more information on that, because here's the deal. No normal person, if you watch a video that says how to discommunicate or whatever, the communication on an airplane,
Yeah.
no person's going to go out there and try to do it unless they're generally just a bad person.
Right.
Like, unless they're just like a terrorist or something.
Right.
And that's why you have all these other measurements in front. And those are the measurements you don't have to tell us about.
Right.
But the more that we hear there's plain problems going on with a lack of communication, that's what makes people wonder the most of.
Mm-hmm.
If you were able to come out and say, hey, I found this black box, this is what happened, this is what happened, this is what happened, obviously there's going to be people that raise more questions about it.
Right.
But if I don't hear about this again in like 2 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be sitting here wondering, like, what happened to all this information? Like, the black boxes, I'm pretty sure, aren't they just in a big orange box? I don't even think it's black.
Oh, I thought they were black.
I thought it was a big orange because if your plane ever crashes, you want something that's high visibility so you can find it. That's what I thought it was.
Oh,
I thought the black box was physically inside the orange box.
I thought it was literally painted black.
No, I'm saying the system itself is black.
Yeah.
But it's like in a the best way, and this might be completely false. This is just what I thought. It's like in a big pelican orange box. is what I
knew
always
you were going to
understand.
describe it that way.
Because they're supposed to be able to float.
Mm-hmm.
They're not supposed to sink. I mean, you're supposed to be able to find this box very, very quickly.
Well, I think that communications box is also standardized, like where it's put on all planes is in the same place for those different sizes of planes. I do think that they're built to withstand these impacts and whatnot, but I feel like a lot of them are going to go down with the wreckage, just based on, like, I think they're secured so that they're not just like sliding around in there.
No, I agree.
So unless that piece comes loose, whatever it's secured to, it's not going to just float up in that event. So what do you do if they crash into the ground, though? Because that's something I was thinking about. Something that literally looks like a missile went off whenever it impacts. I have a hard time believing that that's going to be recoverable.
It's definitely a good point. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not
And like
sure
I
either.
said, we're just saying what we think about what an actual black box is. I mean,
Yeah,
it might
speculation.
it might be a big chunk of metal. I don't know. It might be able to hold up to anything. But one time I heard it was supposed to be able to float. But I do see where you're going about, like, if a bomb, which this essentially looks like, just goes off, will you ever be able to find the thing?
Right.
So what I'd be interested in on this one, though, is, I guess, somewhat systems of communication work because they were able to track the plane all the way till hitting the ground. Like, this wasn't like the Malaysia one where it just turned itself off midway through the flight.
But I think that's just a small piece of the transmission that goes on, like in between the plane and control towers and whatnot. And so that's what I'm curious on, is what all information do they really get? Does it get the in cabin dialogue and things like that?
That's what I'm interested in. And I would hope so. I mean, I understand nobody wants to give up their privacy.
Right.
But
well, and I understand from this perspective, like, let's say you do recover it, and let's say it's a 30-second clip, and it's terrible. It's like these people's last moments.
Mm-hmm.
I could understand not wanting to release that.
For sure.
But I think you could come out with, like, a statement. You know, like how police will do, like, a police report, like, hey, there was a shooting this area about this time. There was some people injured, and here's what we can tell you. And then they'll give you, like, a brief thing of somebody else's words, what they can say about it. Same thing I think they could do is be like, hey, here's the plane that crashed, here's what we do know, and here's what we can share. That the pilot said the plane was plummeting at a accelerated rate and that he couldn't recover to make any kind of landing. Like, that's a pretty
it's pretty
solid statement.
Yeah,
you know,
pretty in-depth report.
Yeah. Without giving away, like, any extra.
And I say I'd kill for that.
Yeah.
I mean on anything.
Right.
Obviously, I do think it's important to attach the names to everybody. I know some people don't want to do that, but I was thinking about it last night. If I died in something, I would want, even if, Lord, it got weird, but I was like, even if I had a family member of mine that died in something,
Yeah.
and I'm like, man, I don't know if I want everybody to know that. To the people, they probably need to know that. I mean, just because if there is something corrupted going on, we hope the people that can figure it out can figure it out.
Right.
I mean, that's why the people often forget this. The FAA, the government, all these different groups, they are a public service to serve the people. That is what they do. And they're supposed to keep us safe, protect us, all that other stuff, and just be normal to us. Like, just come over the phone like a normal person and just tell me everything and provide it somewhere. Be like, I'm not going to read this off online, but if you want to go read it, it's right here.
Right.
And then you can declassify all the junk so we could just see everything.
Yeah. Once going back to, like I said, you know how like you'll see a police chief, and he comes up and there's a podium and he does his little thing or whatever, and he's like, if you want to know the rest of the details, the documents can be found at the blah 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 .gov. It's a government website, open source stuff. If you want to look into it, or some of it, be like, hey, like the really in-depth details we can't release, but if you want our statements and our reports of exactly what has occurred, here's where you can find it. And they get up there, and it's like the main guy. So like whoever is in charge of like FFA, I did it again.
Yeah.
That's gonna get me.
You're on the FFA right now,
dude. I'm on it.
You might need to go teach a course.
Maybe. The FAA. Whoever is like in charge of that region or however that works, I don't know. If they came out, or just the person who, like, they had to have taken off from somewhere.
Right.
There had to be a control tower. If whoever was in charge of that airport, somebody who has authority and ownership.
And why are those people not getting interviewed?
Well, that's why I'm curious. I would like to see them come out and make a statement and be like, hey, on our side, we did everything we could.
Exactly.
It looked like a normal takeoff. Something had to have gone wrong once they got to XYZ altitude, blah, 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 blah. And be like, oh, okay. So takeoff was good. Plane seemed to be in working order. Everything's cool. And then something happened. Like that. And I feel like we had that just maybe 10 years ago. I think it was about 10 years ago. I remember hearing about a really bad bird strike getting like a big plane. And they recovered it or whatever and was able to land. Obviously, the plane was like destroyed.
Jacked, yeah.
But they landed it pretty safe. And so they just come out and said that. They're like, everything was normal. Plane took off normal. Everything was good. Plane got up. It was like halfway there, and it hit a thing of birds, and then it had to make an emergency landing, at the next closest airport.
Yeah, it's wild. So let's try to run through the scenarios. Let's say that we were the people investigating on the job.
Yeah.
And not every investigator, they don't know everything about airplanes, so we're just going to put ourselves right in their shoes.
Okay.
And you would sit down and they ask, what are the reasons you believe? Let's go through all the reasons that you believe this could have happened. Mm-hmm. So obviously the main one is there was some kind of malfunction on the plane that caused it to go down.
Yeah.
Number two, I don't know if it's, and I'm not talking bad about anybody, but I don't know if you should just rule out yet that it was not a attack of some sort.
Mm. What were the intentions of the pilot?
Exactly. Like, and then there's always this one too. Was there some kind of sabotage involved?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe there was somebody that didn't like this. So a little bit more information about all this. The plane was registered in Mexico. Mm-hmm. Everybody on the plane was Mexican. The plane was going from Pennsylvania to, where did I say?
Springfield, Missouri.
Springfield, Missouri. And then it was leaving from Springfield to go back to Mexico. Mm-hmm. So let's just try to rule everything out real quick. Mm-hmm. We already know that there's could be a good chance that the plane had some sort of malfunction.
Yeah.
And then it ended up just to the point to where it was unsavable, or they tried to save it. And then also we talked about a little bit about that impossible turn thing. Apparently it's some way to try to get back to an airport pretty quickly, but it's pretty risky. Use it. What's the chances that the plane was on it was used to try to harm other people. So the only reason that I could ever see this happening is if two different things. One of them, Trump's doing the whole thing right now where he's sending all the immigrants back. So if it was somebody that was mad about the whole deal and they wanted to do something about it, that could possibly be a way to do it. You also have the asset of I have a plane that was in Mexico. The one why that doesn't really go that well with me is there was kids. I mean, from my understanding, there was a little girl that was on the plane that just had a life-saving procedure done. So they were flying her back to Mexico. So unless the two pilots were the only ones that was about it, and this was their chance.
Another thing I have a hard time with is, like, they would want to leave. Like, they would make sure you knew why. If somebody wanted to do it for a cause, if they had a good reason, they want that message to be spread.
I don't know if I believe that fully, because I don't think that was fully made at 9/11.
What?
I really don't.
Okay.
I mean, there's a part of me, and a lot of it hangs on the balance of 9/11 was. I'm not saying that we were with them, or like we were on Bin Laden's side, but I do think we essentially let it happen because you know what makes more money than anything? War. And you know what we did right after that? War. So and did Osama? I was about to say Obama. Did Obama? Did Osama ever clearly come out and say that they were the ones that ran it into the building?
I don't know if him personally, but I think it was.
I know they said it was would have been Taliban or Al Qaeda, one of the two.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree that.
Well, a lot of people normally come out and they'll claim it quickly, or they'll leave something behind, right? Like, imagine if you were like, "What's a way I can make sure these people knew it was this?" You know, like, let's say they didn't like all the stuff that's going on with the immigrants, and why would they not try and find like a government, something to do with the government? Why would it be a mall? You know, why would they not attack a government facility? Why would they not?
Because I think a lot of people would just be too scared. Like, I'm going to fly my plane into Area 51.
Well, I don't even think that. It doesn't even have to be that serious. It could be just a local, like, whatever your federal place is, like, closest to you. Or find, like, something that has to do with Trump, a business he owns or a hotel or something.
That's if we're talking about it being about the immigrant thing.
Right.
Because it was reported at the plaza that it was a pretty busy plaza, and it was hit during the rush hour time of the plaza.
Right.
It just didn't hit the plaza perfectly. So I still think there's definitely investigation to be done to that. We also haven't found the black box to that. So we did talk about that a little bit. Kind of might be destroyed. Does this? Have you ever been on a plane?
Yeah.
Does this give you any different thinking about planes?
Nah.
Does it really not?
Nah. It is what it is, man.
Because it's just one of those. You know, it's like one of those things that you can't do anything about it.
Yeah. I mean, there's literally zero control I have. And at this point, now that it's not just big planes anymore. They're not just Boeings.
Oh, I know.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's all kind of stuff up in the sky that's going crazy. So who's to say, let's say I make $1 million, buy my own jet, have my own pilot, and he's like, well, plane's going down, runs that sucker right into the ground.
Better jump out.
It's like, I mean.
I would like to see.
It'd be like, okay, perfect.
Better communication statistics on all this stuff.
It's been like on a bus.
On a bus.
When you get on a school bus or like a Greyhound bus.
Yep.
You have no control over what the driver does. None.
I know. And I'm with you.
So you're kind of just along for the ride, buddy.
Yeah, but if if I get in a crash in a bus
Yeah.
versus an airplane.
Yeah. I'm not saying the scales aren't different, but.
So I'm not saying all this is people deliberately trying to do that, because at one time, I can't remember what the date was, but there was 2 planes that hit each other in midair, like way up there. And you sit there and ask yourself, how in the world does that happen? But it happened.
Yeah.
So it's like it's crazy to think, for sure.
Man, and real quick, I was just thinking about it. What about like that F-35 that looked like it fell out of the sky that you showed me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that had a
JJ was working on it.
JJ, shout out JJ. I remember seeing that video and they ejected. So those planes you can eject from.
Right. No, but once again,
so
that's another plane crashed
in the military too. What are you trying to tell us, military?
I'm not even saying that. What are these pilots up to? What are they trying to say?
Right. They're saying I'm about to run this into something. There was another plane crash. This was a while ago. I think it was outside of. I could be completely messing this up. Brazil or something like that. But you talk about a plane. I was showing Boss this. You talk about a plane that falls directly out of the sky. It's a big plane, and it's just like. I mean, it's the craziest looking thing ever, because at least you would see yourself trying to catch something out of it. It was just a big plane that got caught up in whatever this is. Big plane. And it's like you're not coming out of it. You're just in it to the ground.
Yeah.
And it's just wild looking.
That's what I find so weird about planes when that happens, because with like helicopters, because there was a bad crash last year. And
Helicopter or plane?
Helicopter. And the video of it literally looks like it just drops out of the sky. Like not rotating, nothing, just
Stops and drops.
it's like if somebody just grabbed it and then let go.
Yeah.
And you're like, God.
It almost looks fake.
Yeah. But the way that they operate, it makes sense at least. And they don't have anything to try and catch any kind of drag or uplift or anything. There's no kind of resistance on it.
Right.
Just a big shell, right? Whereas with the plane, you've got these wings, and there's all this like aerodynamics that's going on. And so when you see one that comes out of the sky like that, it's very strange.
It is. It's very strange to watch, because how far did it have to be falling for it to just
get to that point?
Get to the point to where it's just essentially falling straight down at this point.
Yeah.
Like there's no momentum forward or no momentum backward. It's just spinning.
Yeah.
So that's a wild video to understand. But it makes you kind of want to learn a little bit more about planes. But it's not like you're going to save the plane.
No.
But
I guess it would give you a little bit better understanding of maybe what's going on. Maybe you could have a little bit better insight just based on your own knowledge. I could see that helping by doing some research on it. But unless you're there, then
as people that don't have anything to do with this,
yeah,
what is ways that you think it could be preventable more? How could the airplane and the helicopter one be preventable?
That one's difficult, I think, because
you can't just simply say just don't fly that way,
right?
Because obviously, we're saying this as is reasonable people flying this helicopter,
right?
So
I would say that one's gonna be a lot harder, because I was thinking some kind of device, some kind of early detection device, whatever you think is a safe distance that airplanes or helicopters need to be away from each other. Have something on all those aircraft that detect one another. Well, you can't do that with like military aircraft.
Right.
A lot of them have to have stuff that lets them fly under the radar on purpose. And they don't have to transmit if they don't want to, et cetera, et cetera. So they're in like their own category, which makes it more difficult. Because then that goes for other places too. Like imagine you take a flight to England and your plane crashes into one of their jets. Okay, well, guess what? You have no control over what they're doing. So I think that would be the thing you could do, but it would be really, really
impossible,
really.
friend of mine, Earl, was talking about I don't know who it was, but somebody was trying to start something to say that every person on an airplane from now on has to wear like a leg monitor, just in case the fact you crash, they can find you. But that kind of defeats the purpose if an airplane's blowing up a black box. I mean, if it has that much power to incinerate things, and like I said, it's very strange watching the Pennsylvania one because there was not many parts left anywhere, and there was cars on fire, and I'm trying to run through my head, how in the world does that really happen? I mean,
well, I think about it the same way as, like, I've seen videos of like JDAMs, like they'll do practice tests, and so it won't actually have the explosive in it. It'll just be like the missile body, and they'll drop it. Well, that missile does the same thing a bullet does. Like when you shoot a bullet at a piece of steel, it takes a solid piece and smashes it so thin. It's thinner than a penny. It's just like a razor thin piece. And it was a big old piece.
I have such an interesting question about this, but continue.
So if that can crush itself all the way down to where it's practically nothing left, just this tiny little flat piece of nothing, just metal, and then a whole missile can do the same thing when it hits the ground. It just collapses itself into practically nothing. I think a plane would do the same thing. I think under its own force of it coming down so fast, on top of now it's going to explode too. So all the little pieces that it would have, all the shrapnel that it would create is now like, not just getting thrown, it's literally getting blown away. So instead of let's say it was a 100-foot radius for any kind of material for it just going into the ground without an explosion, let's say double that. And that's a 200-foot radius for any kind of parts.
You think you think something like that has enough power to like break up concrete?
Yes.
So in this scenario, after all this gets done, there ought to be a spot somewhere on that ground to where you could see something pushed it in. Right.
Yeah.
Because I'll be interested to see that.
You're not going to get that.
Why not?
Nobody's going to take a picture of the ground.
That's not even bad. Oh, brother, there's got to be somebody out there that'll do it.
I doubt it. We'll see.
Well, okay, well, segueing into a real skeptic thing.
Yeah.
Here
we go.
So we kind of touched a little bit on the 9/11 thing. We had the two planes hit two towers.
Yeah.
We had the third plane hit Pentagon.
Yep.
And then we had a fourth plane that they thought was supposed to go to the White House. And then some dude hijacked it and ran it into a field or something like that.
Yep.
Have you ever seen the pictures of the plane crash in the field? Okay, I could show you the picture. And I think you would be like, everybody right now, government's about to start spying on everybody. Go look up the picture of that plane landing in the field. Because if what you say is really, really true, then it has way more credibility to it. So in this picture of this plane, we're talking about a big plane, the same plane that essentially was running into the towers at the time. Yeah. And we saw what they did. Yeah. I mean, might have been some more tampered with, maybe not. But you saw what they did on the impact. I'm not even putting the Pentagon in there because that whole thing's weird. But when that plane crashed in that field, there was nothing left of that plane except a spot on the ground that looks like an X. Just like, and you know where they said the plane went? In the ground. They said the plane was going so fast, brother, it hit the ground. And when it hit, it dug itself in the ground, complete, like not broken to pieces, and the ground just covered it back up. Exactly.
I don't.
All right, I'm about to pull the picture, but
I want to know who released that statement because that sounds like a false statement.
Okay.
I'd like to know who originally made that claim.
So you think? So let's say big passenger jet flies down and clocks my field right here.
Yeah.
You think
it's going to crater that dude.
Right, but you don't think there would be a lot of wreckage left?
I mean, there's going to be quite a bit, but it's not going to be near as much as you'd think.
Like give me an example. Like when you say not as much as you think.
45% of the plane's left. Recognizable and recoverable.
Okay. Type it in here just so you can get a view of the picture. So this one, it's wild. I hope somebody goes and looks it up because it's the weirdest thing ever in this field. But like I said, all it is just like it's like a hole, and there's no plane parts around it. Really, just a hole. Mm-hmm. So where'd the whole plane go?
The government took that thing.
Where'd they take it?
I don't know. To a military installment.
So
somewhere.
You really think they took the plane?
Whatever was left. I don't think.
Oh no! So you still think the plane?
Yeah,
crashed.
I think it crashed, and then they recovered every piece that they wanted to recover, and left.
See, this is what I think we kind of talked about a little bit. I would love to. You know who could afford to test this out?
Elon Musk.
Yeah. Just go rent out a field. Get one of these planes. We already had that one thing where that dude wrecked one out in the middle of the desert just to see what it would do, and dive bomb it into the ground. I just want to see what happens.
Because what I'm curious on is if it's all about the trajectory, okay?
Right.
If you're nosing that thing and it's coming down at a very steep angle, then it's going to crater and it's going to like crush itself under its own weight as it comes into the ground.
Right. But you think it just like becomes non-existent?
Pretty close.
Really?
Because there's really not a lot on a plane already. Like you have the
This is about the hardest thing in the world trying to find this picture now.
Because you have like the skeletal system of it, and then you have what I call the skin, which is like the outer metal. And then you have the internals, which is where like the floor and where everybody sits. All of that stuff has to be
it's not really a good enough picture of it, but they say
that looks pretty accurate.
They say the plane's under the dirt,
but that's a guy's legs, so that's a pretty zoomed in picture.
I know. Where's the plane parts is what I'm asking.
Look at all that shrapnel. Look at all that metal.
All that little tiny whiny stuff?
Yeah.
Where's like a wheel or something? Or a rim or something?
I don't know.
But see, that's what I'm saying though, is I don't know either, but where's it
at? Destroyed? That's what I've been saying this whole time. If you took the wheel off my truck and then attached it to something plummeting towards Earth fast, it's going to like break into pieces when it hits the Earth. There's no way it doesn't break. What are we talking about? We're talking like how high up was this plane?
But brother, this ain't even hitting hard. This is just hitting dirt.
Yeah.
I don't know. I find some way to test it is what I'm always saying. I mean, because if people's going to continue to ask, but you know what it makes it sound like when nobody tests it, it makes it sound like they don't want to test it because then they show it's true. Like it's different.
I understand that's the outlook that everybody has.
It's different dropping a missile into the ground because a missile's whole job is to incinerate. Like a plane's probably, they probably try the hardest not to make it incinerate when it hits stuff.
I know, but if it hits it nose first, there's nowhere else for it to go but to collapse except for on itself. That's like a car. When a car runs into the back of an 18-wheeler and the front end of the car is just gone.
I can still tell you what the rim looks like, though.
There's no front end. Yeah, but it's all broken to pieces.
But then how am I telling you it's a rim?
Because you know what they look like. Do you know have you ever seen the rim for an airplane?
I have.
And you know what they look like.
Yes.
So you could identify one right
Yes.
now. Okay.
I swear I could. I could.
Well, then we need more pictures.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Where's all the pictures at?
The government's got them.
But why is the question.
I don't know why.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
But then again, you could say the same thing, but in a different fashion. Instead of being like, oh, nobody wants to recreate it because it proves that they were lying, right? You could say the other thing. You could say nobody wants to recreate it because nobody wants to spend $100 million like getting a place, getting a plane, getting the resources.
But that's somebody that already believes it didn't happen.
Or they just don't want to waste their money.
Well, those people don't need to be the ones doing it then.
I think it's going to be really hard to convince somebody
It's
that it's not a waste of money.
The reason why I always, for one, that one's just weird because it doesn't make any sense to me. But you know what a baller move is that Donald Trump's pulling right now? He's about to release the files for everything. JFK assassination, Epstein, if there's a Diddy list. He's about to.
Yeah.
That stuff should have been done like from day one. Because you know what? If I read it, all of it now, and it's like, you know what? Lee Harvey Oswald is the one that shot him. All right, then we're good. I ain't got nothing. Because once you start hiding stuff, that's when you start thinking. Because the number one reason is, why are you hiding it? Why would you hide all the pictures and all the stuff about this one airplane? If anything, you shouldn't, because we were told there's a hero on this airplane that saved everybody. Dude, there needs to be a dadgum movie about this already, but there hasn't been. You know why? It's because they're doing some shady stuff and they don't want to tell us for whatever reason.
That's one way to look at it.
Exactly. I think that's the only way to look at it until we get some proof.
If you want to believe it that way, go ahead.
I'm nowadays, I'm just, the whole reason we started what we call it skeptics, because there's so many things I'm just like, I just don't know. I was like, that just doesn't seem right to me. And a big old passenger plane dive bombing into the ground, and then nothing is nothing anymore. I mean, how fast do you have to have that happen? We were talking about a bullet or a 5.56 round cooking at 3,000 feet per second, hitting a piece of steel and disappearing. Now
my 4570 do the same thing, and it's subsonic.
I think you find the shell for sure.
You'll find a flattened piece of metal.
Exactly. There's still something to find.
Yeah, but it's almost non-existent. It's so small.
But it's still existent, though. You said almost.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, and in that picture that we just looked at, there was little pieces of metal all over the place. And when I say little, I'm talking about the size of my chest.
You can't even tell it's little.
There was a guy's legs. If let's say the average male is 5'11". Okay.
They rounded up, but
and let's say they weigh 175 pounds.
Yep.
I can picture in my head about what that guy looks like. Okay. And if I can see his legs, and then I see a piece of metal that's torso sized, and there's like 100 of those pieces scattered in all kind of different conditions, I seen a lot in that picture you showed me. Because so much of perspective is what you want to see. I try not to look at it from one lens or the other. I don't know what happened. I don't either. But I think we should know. They could be playing us, or maybe they're not playing us. I don't know.
Oh, well, they release all the information.
But I tell you this: what I seen was a bunch of wreckage.
Brother, that's not even a good one. I seen a bunch of wreckage.
That was your whole argument just now. It's so minuscule, blah blah blah. I seen a bunch of wreckage.
It's so minuscule for the amount of wreckage per the aircraft.
No, I just explained that. So there's
you would see that much wreckage if a missile hit that same spot.
No,
I'd say that you would.
No,
I say.
Do you even know how big a missile is?
Depends on how big you want one, I guess.
Get out of here.
The one they dropped on Hiroshima is pretty big.
That's not a missile. That's a bomb.
Well, it's something.
It's gone.
It's-
That's what it is.
Somebody definitely found the remains of that nuclear missile somewhere. Unless
out of everything that could evaporate, that's high on the list.
Hey, unless if there's a nuke shoved in this passenger plane, you know what? Then I'll believe it.
Oh, here we go.
That's what everybody says. Airplane fuel burns so hot. Let's see it. Let's see a video or something.
Let's go buy some.
Can you buy that?
Yeah. We can go buy Jet A fuel right now.
Is that the same they're putting in these things?
Yeah.
All right, we'll test it.
Okay. I have no
I
problem.
don't even know how you test it, but
We're going to set it on fire out here.
just throw a match in it. We'll put it in the bottom of the range in a big barrel and just drop a match in it and run.
That seems sketch.
Well, we're trying.
We need to come up with a better plan than that.
We're trying to see. Actually, we're not even really seeing that. We're just trying to see how hot it burns. That's what I'm interested in. Not really the explosion factor.
We need a heat gun.
Just how I have one. Just how hot it burns.
How hot
because
does it go?
apparently it burnt through steel beams in 9/11.
I don't know.
I don't either.
But
How long does it take a steel beam to melt?
I don't know.
Exactly.
Here we go. Okay, but now, fine. If we want to get all scientific on me, then
I'm not even getting scientific.
yeah, we are. All right, here we go.
I wasn't,
So
though.
think about it like this.
I'm listening.
How hot does the metal have to get, not for it to melt, but just so that it's bendable, under its own weight, the crushing weight of stories?
How hot? How hot?
I don't know how hot.
Nobody does, probably.
But how high? I don't know. How freaking tall were those buildings? And how much was left from where the plane hit up? How much do you think that piece of the building weighed? Tons?
Nah.
And okay, so now let's think that the plane just
Did
karate chopped.
Did a plane hit Building 7?
It just karate chopped a piece of the building out. It just karate chopped the whole piece out. Okay?
But it didn't. If it karate chopped the whole piece out, brother, the whole thing would have went like this. Like a tree. You know what it did?
Does a tree do... Okay, so when you cut a wedge out of a tree, does it do that?
It falls.
There's a tree, and you cut a V shape out one side.
It falls to the side.
No?
It falls to the side,
Nope.
brother.
Nope.
We go out there and prove it right now.
Okay, I'll be right. It's not until you cut the back side.
Still.
Listen, no, that is a major piece. So listen to me, listen
brother,
to me,
what's
listen to
cutting
me,
the backside?
listen to me, listen to me.
There's not a
Listen to me,
plane
listen to me,
coming from the
listen to
other
me.
side.
You gotta trust the process here.
I've trusted it, brother.
Okay, so the plane karate chops the building, takes a piece out.
It only goes in one side, but
Yep.
yes, I've fallen.
Yeah, it was I didn't say it chopped through it. It chopped into it,
Okay.
and now it's weaker, just like that tree.
Okay. I got you.
And instead of running something into the other side, it's so hot that the materials become malleable, bendable, okay? And they collapse in the heat under the weight of this mega
it
structure.
would fall in the direction of least resistance, the part that the plane actually took out?
Not if it's trying to hold itself up and it crushed itself under its own weight. Good engineering.
I just don't know about all that. Elon Musk test this stuff out. It ain't that much money to run a plane into it. It's not that much money.
Yeah, you say
I
that.
would much rather.
You have to pay the people. You have to buy the resources.
I'd
You
much
have
rather
to design all this.
You know what? I'd much rather him do that and then me make an extra $2,000 a year, just so I can have some peace of mind about it.
Well, I don't know how that feels, but I got peace of mind about it. Whether they're lying to me or not, I can tell you right now, I'm getting ready for turkey season. So,
Yeah, I'm not.
call me simple-minded.
About to get ready for airplane season. What I'm about to get ready for.
Pause.
I'm gonna start
You're
watching.
going to jail,
I'm
buddy.
gonna start watching, dude.
They heard you say that.
Some binocs, and I'm sitting there watching everything.
Oh, my
What are you?
gosh.
You watching birds? Nope, I'm watching that airplane right there.
Yeah, you're going to jail, buddy.
For watching a plane.
If they bust you more than once, I bet they're going to think you're up to something.
Plane watching. They didn't bust the guy that shot Donald Trump. He walked around with a rangefinder.
Hey, you know,
I'm about to walk around with just binoculars.
just binoculars probably chill. I was thinking you had like a whole setup.
Like what?
Like you pull up in the van, and you open the side of the door.
Oh no, dude, I'm way more CIA than that.
You
wouldn't even know.
got like a monocular.
You wouldn't even know, and I know how to fly the whole plane.
Oh yeah, here we go.
Microsoft Flight Simulator, baby.
Yeah.
All right, John Boy, you got anything else you want to hit it with?
No, I think we covered all of our bases today. Hope y'all have a good one. Happy Groundhog Day. If you've never seen that movie, go watch it.
Yep. I wish I could send every one of you this meme I got about groundhog. It's the hardest groundhog edit
Dude,
ever.
it's so good. Woke up to it this morning.
It's awesome motivation. But hope y'all have a good one. This has been Skeptics Podcast, episode 24.
Yup.
Let's be careful out there and watch out for some planes.
That's right. Later,
guys. Just realized I didn't even have my hat on the whole time. Perfect.
You didn't put yours on, so I didn't put mine back on.